I don't know about everybody else here, but I just look up after and go, wow, like, the task is the one part, and then I'm done and I say, whoa, that's something. I forgot what went into it.
Finding the right people for the job is no small task. And a very clear example of this is the cast for the film Boiling Point, which is a single shot film set in the kitchen of a restaurant, which receives a visit from a health and safety authority. And the head chef, played by Stephen Graham, has to deal with the tensions that arise. So I'm going to come to you first, Carolyn, as the casting director for this film. The script for this film started without any dialogue. It only had stage directions. As an actor, that fills me with a lot of anxiety. And the process was developed through a series of rehearsals in which things were improvised. So that's very unusual for screen projects. And you had to assemble an ensemble around that format. How did you approach casting something like this?
Well, it was really interesting, Sheila, because as you say, we had basically a kind of a beat sheet, really, sort of a combination of, we knew what needed to happen from the start, beginning, middle and end of the story. But in terms of gathering the cast, it was intriguing. Basically, the film is set in a restaurant on the busiest Saturday before Christmas, so sort of hubbub. But we have a sort of front of house staff, so you've got the guests, you've got the waiting staff and the managers, and you've got the behind the scenes kitchen staff. So the first thing I had to do was basically try and get a lot of actors on board for those characters. So the first thing I did was I put a breakdown out, and then the next step was we had no sides to send. Traditionally you have your script, you send out your character sides. We had none of that. So what was quite interesting about this is that Phil Barantini, who co-wrote the concept and directed the film, had worked in kitchens for over 12 years. So he knew these people, he knew this environment. I think some of us, throughout our lives, at some point worked in hospitality, so had some kind of inkling of what that kitchen life, what that hospitality life was like. I myself had I'd done my stint in kitchens and in restaurants, so had a concept of it. But what I decided to do was to approach the actors by dividing them into front of house and kitchen, and giving them an improvisation to do. And they had to sort of carry it out in their kitchens. So for example, there's a group of actresses that play this group of very good friends who've come to this restaurant to celebrate, to party, to have some fun. They're Americans who are visiting and having a great time. And for those actresses, what I gave them was be in your kitchen, make yourself a cup of tea, a snack, some food, whatever, and then relate to me over a sort of 2-3 minute period, one of the most enjoyable evenings you've ever spent out. So it was for them, the process of that was to try and get them to be quite natural. If you're in your kitchen, you know where your coffee cups are, you know where you get the sugar, you know where all of these very simple things are. So it was to see if they could relate a story whilst also doing a bit of sort of business, using some props, etc., but do it in a naturalistic fashion. What was so important about the fact that this was 90 minutes and it was a single shot, no cutaways, no kind of, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, to keep everyone concentrated, to keep everyone focused, is we had to have a really natural flow to what everyone was doing.
And Sheila, I did that too, Sheila, with Dune. I brought them out to a desert and I threw sand at the actors. And then I got some worms, and I just thought, I'm wondering how they're gonna do. And I kind of stole it from Carolyn.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect, because I was actually coming to you next, Francine. So you just also really wonderfully. You cast Dune, and that's another very ensemble project, but it's a very different type of project. It's an epic, kind of sweeping, futuristic sci-fi. And there are lots of new faces in there, but there are lots of well-known actors as well. But they still have to form this kind of cohesive ensemble. And I wondered what that process is like, matching up these big names opposite each other and still allowing the film to feel like something that has cohesion, and community.
I started Dune in 2018, and there was no one cast. Timothy wasn't cast. And I don't think people realize what goes into casting, that how, even though there are so many stars in this, Zendaya auditioned, Timothy didn't, but it was supposed to be in the book of 15-year-old. So you slowly build and build. And I think that we tried to get the best person for each, not overload the cast. But I would say, I'm talking a little bit generally because it relates to the film, but I think as casting directors, what we're always forced to do is put names in. I think now the great thing, and I've said this before, is that diversity is the first question we come upon, and so in Dune, there's like 11 countries represented, and then there's great female roles. So I can't say, in terms of it working as an ensemble, that's the director each of us have. Zendaya read with Timothy, that came together in audition, but everything else we picked who was the best for the part. And I think we tried to add little different flavors that you haven't seen before. It's a combination of all of us working together, and it's wonderful when a Javier or Oscar want to do something that we're doing, but I know as casting directors, we all love when we're able to cast a Benjamin or a Charlotte Rampling. And I think the best actors kind of, I don't know about everybody else here, but I just look up after and go, wow, the task is the one part, and then I'm done and I say, whoa, that's something. I forgot what went into it.
I just wanted to come to Massimo and Annamaria. These are the casting directors for The Hand of God, which is another film which features a very strong ensemble. I think ensembles are kind of the name of the game this evening. But this time, the challenge is casting a family in a coming-of-age story about a young teen in Italy, and the impacts that an accident by Diego Maradona had on his life. This is very much an autobiographical work by the writer and director Paolo Sorrentino. So what's that like, casting a film where you are essentially casting the creator of the film and his family from his childhood? Is that more challenging? Is there more pressure when it comes to trying to find these people?
Sicuramente c'è stata una grande pressione, anche perché affrontavamo un film molto importante per Paolo, un film che segnava il ritorno nella sua città e segnava anche appunto l'affrontare un momento della sua esistenza molto particolare, molto forte, molto doloroso. Per cui c'è stata indubbiamente una grande pressione e il coinvolgimento emotivo è stato veramente molto, molto grande. Non nascondiamo che durante i provini dal vivo che facevamo spesso ci siamo emozionati, siamo fino alle lacrime nel vedere appunto gli attori che interpretavano qualcosa che significava moltissimo per la vita di questo nostro regista, che noi amiamo incondizionatamente perché sono anni ormai che lavoriamo con lui. E quindi questo sicuramente ha una sua importanza e un suo peso, e la ricerca quindi è stata molto, molto bella e impegnativa, indubbiamente.
Sì, diciamo che anche nella ricerca non c'era poi soltanto una componente di somiglianza fisica al mondo di partenza, insomma, che c'era, ma era un avvicinamento emotivo a quello che leggevamo dei personaggi nella sceneggiatura, insomma. Quindi anche per questo, insomma, è stato un avvicinamento anche nostro, lento e forte.
That is so interesting to hear, because Rich and Avi, I wonder if you guys had a similar experience with having to cast King Richard, which is a film about the Williams sisters and their father, Richard Williams. I mean, what is that like, casting two sporting icons? How did you find Demi and Sania? And I believe you saw around 1,000 people for the roles.
Yeah, it was about 1,000 people. I mean, I love what Francine said as well about starting the search early, because I started looking in 2018. I had come a chance meeting with the producer, and he set me up to meet with Isha and Lindrea Price, who are Venus and Serena's sisters. And when they gave the go-ahead to start looking, it was before the movie had found a studio or found a home yet, so couldn't really say what it was about. So we wrote fake sides for these girls, Veronica and Sophia, spelling bee champions, and we just started looking everywhere we could. That was in January of 2019. And in February or March of 2019, Sanaya and Demi came into the process, and we knew right away that they were something special. You were looking for girls that had the physical ability to learn how to play tennis if they weren't, natural athletic ability, that they could look like the characters, that would blend seamlessly into a family, that would be able to believably span 5 years, because they started the film and then had to go 5 years, and that could play sisters. So it was, and Venus and Serena, for me personally, are my heroes in life and have been since they came onto the scene. So for me, it was incredibly filled with a lot of pressure and a challenge, but keeping it with tennis, Billie Jean King says pressure is a privilege. And so I had that posted on my desk with pictures of Serena and Venus all over my office, and just reminding myself that pressure is a privilege and lean into that. And so once we found them in February, it was quite exciting, but we had to kind of keep them on ice because we didn't have a director on board yet. We didn't have the film land at home yet. So fortunately, we kind of kept them on board. And then once Ray Green came on the film in August, we had to start that process all over again, kind of bring, I think we had about 100 girls out of the 1,000 that we had seen that we were like, these are girls that are potential contenders. So bringing those in and kind of starting the process from there again. It was a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, I think everyone that came to this project really believed in the power of the story, and it was a lot of passion and grit and just a desire to get it right. And I think that that's why hopefully the results are on the screen, because everyone really cared about putting their best foot forward and trying to get it right.
Reaching out to every tennis club and having all young girls have a dream to audition was so exciting. And they would even say, even if they didn't get the job, just to try it or be in front of Ray was brilliant. And I've cast many films that are based on real people, and you just have to take such consideration. And so that's a different step. It's not just young ladies who could play tennis and who could act, but it's really portraying iconic people, which is a hard thing to do, especially being a child. And putting an ensemble together like this, I've worked with Ray before, and putting an ensemble together like this and it meant so much the way he portrayed a family, that there were certain things that I know we wanted to pay very close attention to. So to be recognized is brilliant, and to be part of this group with you guys is brilliant.
It was an incredible moment when we read Anjanou Ellis, who plays Oracene Williams in the film. She came over to Will Smith's house and did the little session with him kind of in his living room. And I think everyone there immediately was really hoping that this would go well. But the second she sat down, it was a very intimate setting. She sat down on the couch with him. And before she even started doing the scene, she just started picking little pieces of lint off his clothing and moving a stray hair. And it was just like building those little blocks of a relationship and a married couple that you started to see right away that these people had a connection that would translate into something. It was incredible. It was an amazing experience.
And that leads me perfectly onto West Side Story, and to you, Cindy, who I believe watched about 30,000 audition tapes. That's what I've heard, which sounds like a lot of audition tapes.
True, but just like everybody here, we also started working on it in 2018, and my staff and I watched I can't say that I watched them all myself, because it takes a team. And we worked on it for a year and a half. And it was the most joyous experience ever. And I would say, like with Francine, I'd like to just say, I think what we're always trying to do is build a single cohesive whole without losing each individual actor's unique voice. And I think that's what casting is. And I think it's fulfilling the story and the vision of the director and the writer, but trying to do that seamlessly so that everybody is part of the same fabric of the film. And I know that every single casting director here does it flawlessly, and I'm in awe of that. But yeah, 30,000.